the 100 season 4 finale, Prime Fire. This is a really good season finale. Really crazy cliffhanger ending. We got our time skip, which I figured we would. Of course, we got, basically the main two characters, going up into space for 5 years. I was like, all right, we got to get a time skip. We aren't going to see, every single element within the 5 years, of course, because everyone's it was kind of break time. It's like everyone's in the bunker. They're going to space to survive, and they come back in 5 years. So we get bits and pieces. I'm sure we'll get some flashbacks in the next season as to what the characters went through. I'm very excited to see what they show us from Clarke's perspective, being almost like a sole survivor sort of thing until she found this young Nightblood who seemed fairly young even after the 6 years. So that character had to have been almost 6 or 7 when Clarke actually found her. So I thought that was very interesting. But it was a really good freaking episode. We get our little bit in the beginning where Octavia and Bellamy are talking with each other. So that was a nice moment. And Octavia officially says that she loves her brother, which is cool because it's like the ultimate, reconciliation between the two of them. So I enjoyed that scene, and then it got kind of sad because the radio, craps out. So Bellamy can't really say it back, and then it goes into him telling Clarke, the radio's crapped out, so you can't even say goodbye to your mother, which is super depressing. So really good way to start the episode emotionally. Then it goes through, and of course, they have solutions, they have issues, just back and forth. The communications go down, and that means that they can't talk to the Ark and actually have the doors open. So someone has to go to the satellite array. That ends up being Clarke, because Murphy and Monty actually go to get some other random piece, and Monty passes out because he has to take his gloves off so that they can actually take this piece off of the wall. So he passes out. Murphy has to carry the thing by himself, and then he and Bellamy go back to get Monty, and it was just a really crazy sequence. And then for a couple of segments throughout the episode, it's like, what in the world what's Echo doing? Like, she's just in the background, she's kind of hiding, and I'm like, I don't think she's trying to kill anybody, and I don't think it's going to get to that crazy point. And then by the time we hit the end of the episode, we find out that she's basically sacrificing herself because she kind of doesn't feel like she belongs anywhere. And that was an interesting moment. And throughout this episode, they had a couple of scenes with Bellamy where he, took charge, because Clarke was even saying it from the beginning, like, if I'm not around to be, at the top, it's got to be you. Like, everything you've done was for your sister, so, you can rule with your heart, but you also have to rule with your head as well. So it was definitely good how they kind of showed him take control a little bit. Like when things first fell apart with Raven, Clarke was right there, but she turned and looked to Bellamy like, this is kind of one of your moments. If I'm not here, you're going to have to do this in the future. So it was cool how they kind of did that throughout the episode. And, he helps Raven in the beginning. He helps Echo out towards the end. Sadly, everybody has to leave Clarke behind because, television stuff, everything completely breaks down on her. The satellite requires, her to do it manually. So she has to climb to the top in order to set up the array. Then she has to climb to the very peak and actually physically move the satellite for it to work. So fortunately, that does end up working. At the last minute, everybody's able to get into the Ark, turn on the oxygen as they're passing out, and then the oxygen kicks in and they're all able to wake up and survive. So really crazy way to end things out with them, and that was really cool. And then we have our moment with Bellamy and Raven where they talk about having to kind of leave Clarke behind, and then we get our skip. And it's not just 5 years, it's 6 years and a week. I don't know why they chose to do the 6 years and 7 days thing, but for whatever reason they did. So they have it, it's been, 2,000 days. Clarke has been counting the days down. Every day she tries to, hail the Ark and say, hey, you guys can land. It's been, a year and a week since, you guys could have come back down. So why haven't you yet? Very interesting moment. Of course we see her fine. And I knew that was going to happen. I wasn't too surprised. So I was like, no, this isn't. The part where she collapsed and it was in slow motion, I was like, this isn't dramatic enough. I think she'll be fine. So I admittedly wasn't worried. I was like, I'm pretty sure we'll find out that the cure actually did work on her. The transfusion worked 100% on her. And of course, that's what ends up happening. She survives. She finds this young child who was probably just devastated, during that moment. That's a crazy thing to live through as a kid. In general, that's a pretty crazy thing to live through. So through this 6 years, she ends up finding this child, and she tried to, dig the people out of the bunker, but after a while she gave up. They've been radio silent, so why haven't they tried to, force their way out, with some sort of hydraulic system or anything to just force the door upwards or anything like that. So, that's a mystery there. Of course, the people on the Ark, maybe they just haven't figured it out yet. We still don't really know. But Clarke is kind of like one of two people almost on the entire planet, it seems. And we seemingly have this ship, as Clarke is talking, it's like, I see you guys, and it's like, cool, the characters, they're coming from the atmosphere and everything. And it's like, wow, they're coming back, they'll get a, minute explanation or whatever, and then lead into the next season. It could be like a kind of happy ending, but of course something has to go crazy. Instead, we get the crazy moment as the ending where the kid that she's with is like, I thought you said the ship was small, and it's like some random ship out of nowhere, which I have to assume came from another part of the world, because it's either that or we're gonna find out that they like sent people to try to colonize other planets, like some alien type stuff. Where, and I mean like the movie Aliens, where every one of those movies, it's always people going like way out in space. Of course, they always die, but we'll assume that these people actually made it back. But it was just very interesting. I was like, maybe that makes sense. It didn't seem to make sense because they have their own prison, and it was the Ark. It was like, well, bye, you just get floated or you get put in prison. And that was only because, you're under 18, and then they did the stuff, for the kids with the 100. So they could have had this, early on. This could have been something that happened, long before any of the main characters even lived, and they sent these people out a long time ago and they survived. Finally came back to Earth, and it's like, crap, the Ark is gone, or at least, blacked out or whatever. So, I don't know. There's some crazy explanation. Like I said, it could easily be people from a different part of the planet that, went into the atmosphere and then came back down. Maybe they, kind of did the same thing. Who knows? Maybe they even, like, boarded the Ark or something crazy and, like, kidnapped the main characters and now they're prisoners, really for no good reason. So, I don't know what to expect. It was just really insane. Like, there's just this random corporation. It's a giant prisoner transport, and it's like, what the heck does this mean for the show? I have no idea, but it was definitely a great way to end it, where this wasn't, I mean, it's been a couple of seasons, so this could have been something that was like vaguely mentioned somewhere in the past. I don't think so, but man, it was a really great way to end it, where this random corporation comes in and it's just a giant prisoner transport. That always means villains. So they're gonna escape. Maybe the prisoners already killed all the good guys off and they're the ones in control of this ship. So who knows? But I'm very excited for this next season. It's a great way to end it out. We got, 3 stories. We don't know what's happening with the bunker. We don't know what's happening on the Ark. And as far as the Earth is concerned, or, the surface, we have new villains coming in and 2 heroes as like the only people on the actual surface. So very excited to see how things end up playing out. But of course, would love to know what you guys thought about this finale. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. Want to know what you guys thought about this season in general. Favorite episodes, least favorite episodes, saddest moments. We did end up losing a character this season, so of course, always one of the saddest things, losing a character. We unfortunately didn't end up losing 2, because that really would have sucked if Clarke actually did die, or if Monty ended up dying, or anyone else. Like, they were the 2 that were actually like in danger of dying. So nice to see that everyone ultimately ended up living. We'll have to see what happened with Abby. That was a big thing that I mentioned before. They talk about it in this episode, like, Raven said how to do it, so I'm sure they'll figure it out. But we just have to wait and see now. So, like I said, would love to know what you guys thought about this finale. Would love to know your theories on who these characters are, what we're going to see from them, from space, from the bunker, everything else. Maybe we'll find more Nightbloods. I mean, it's been 6 years, so I would assume Clarke would have been able to find anyone else that was alive, especially with her, like, vegetation and growing stuff. She would have, at some point, they would have come across, like, other gardens and stuff like that. Like, Clarke even mentions, like, if you guys are land near the only green spot, because they were, rebuilding food and crops and stuff. So I'm sure it was 6 years plus a week, they would have found other Nightbloods, but it's just the 2 of them. So it's really crazy. I'm excited to see what we get. But like I said, want to know what you guys thought about this finale. Want to know your theories for next season. And I just want to know what you guys want to see in general. So please comment below. Let me know. And I'll see you guys next season.